Good morning, everybody. I would like to say thank you on behalf of my team to DeWalt and ABC for this amazing event here today. I would like to make everybody aware of the safety exits. They're right over here in case of an emergency. You will exit out, go through the glass doors, and take a right. I would also like to congratulate Hensel & Phelps and B&Z Investments for this amazing project we're here to talk about.
Thank you, Allie. Good morning. Lone Star has put together an excellent team for this project. I'm AJ Ewing. I'll be the project manager and the PO for the entirety of this project.
My name is Brian Bell. I'll be the lead superintendent for the entirety of this project.
My name's Allie Stark. I'm the QC manager.
My name is David Steese. I'm the lead estimator.
I will also be covering for Eric Sassy, who's our safety manager, who unfortunately couldn't make it due to quarantine this past week.
Lone Star has done over $1 billion in core and shell revenue in the past 10 years.
This is shown in our 98% client satisfaction rate, and our strength lies within our 84% repeat client rate. What does this mean, AJ?
That means you guys. Since 2016, Lone Star has done 5 past projects with Hensel Phelps Development and B&Z Investments. This shows that we have done $4.1 million in cost savings, which leads us to 22 weeks of time savings. And thanks to my guy Davis over here, we have $4.2 million of VE options. Past projects here, very similar. We've been within 2-mile radius of the site of 701 Rio. Some similarities include utilities, deep excavation, and underground parking garage. And the 2 of these projects we've actually done with Hensel Phelps and B&Z Investments. Now let's take a look at 801 Barton Springs, located just 1.3 miles away from 701 Rio. Some similarities include we actually are putting in the same exact glazed steel curtain wall of 801 Barton Springs and cast in place concrete.
Yeah, I was actually the superintendent on that project, and I gotta say, that excavation was challenging, but we've learned a lot of lessons. So the 70-foot excavation, it was deep and in confined site spaces, so we actually had to be flexible. So we actually took apart our dozer to be able to hoist it out of the pit to get it off site. And because of that, we at Lone Star now understand how to function on confined sites that deep excavation is required.
Our assistant super on the job is actually coming over from Dallas, the Rawlingwood Center. He actually just recently installed the exact same transparent firewall that is going on the east side of 701 Rio. Bottom line, key to success is teamwork. And that includes us, our vendors and trade partners, and most importantly, you guys. Another important aspect to this project is communication. That is why Lone Star will have 5 full-time members from the start of the project until we hand you guys the keys. Some identifiable risk. Supply chain disruption, we can't deny here, is a key risk on this project. That's why Brian here will be working closely with our procurement manager to mitigate those risks. Also, for site condition challenges, we will be doing our hydrovac due diligence, sump pump for dewatering, underground utilities, and shield support systems for excavation. At Lone Star, we care about our neighbors. That's why we'll be working closely with the building manager at 707 Rio and implementing dust noise controls, overhead pedestrian scaffolding frames for nearby pedestrians. Right to the east side of 701 Rio, there couldn't be a structure closer. That's why we'll have a preservationist and an arborist on site, along with seismic monitors strategically placed around the site. So Brian, what are the keys to success?
Well, the key to success on this project and many projects right now is proactive procurement. It is the most important thing right now that we can handle. So as you can see on our variance graphic, you can see there, curtain walls and electric panels, just to take an example, their lead times have blown way out of proportion, and I'm sure you've all dealt with it and all seen it. So the way we manage that is before we get the notice to proceed, we have all of our key subcontractors' contracts committed, executed, ready to go. So by the time we get that notice to proceed, we are already getting and going with the submittal process, and we are able to get the project bought out at an early date, as early as possible. So on this job, our proposed schedule has all of our key materials that have extended lead times will be bought out in May and June, and therefore will all be on site, not on time for the project, but early. I'd like to now introduce our rain man of the whole operation, our lead estimator.
Thanks, Brian. So this project is $36 million, consisting of a contractor fee of 3% and a general conditions of 10%. This is a list of our major scopes, including earthwork and MEP, but most importantly, our concrete being our largest scope. This is concrete broken down into 4 sectors: rebar, post-tension cabling, ready mix, and our self-performed formwork, placement, and finishing of 23.6%. All right, so why should you trust our numbers? Well, you see, Lone Star is a data-centric company. We look extensively into our history. And our history says that we say between $140 and $150 per square foot. And that is no exception to this project. We are at the low end of $141 per square foot. How's our schedule looking, AJ? Oh, I mean.
It's all good, we look alike.
Excuse me, yeah.
So the schedule
summary. Sorry about that.
So in whole, from start to finish, we're looking at a 655-day total schedule. Now the bulk of that will be concrete work and excavation. Concrete is the major driving scope in this job. It will take up over 300 days to complete the total scope of concrete work. So if you all give us this job, you will hear me say on site, concrete, concrete, concrete. I cannot drive home how important this is to our company. Lone Star Construction is the largest self-performing concrete crew in the whole greater state of Texas. So as you can see on this job, we are looking at a 21-day average cycle time per floor. So you have to take into account that the garage floors will be a little bit longer, but we'll make up that time in shooting up vertically once we get above grade. And I will say, with our expertise in craftsmanship, we have been able to innovate ways that we can do this. So on the terrace portion of 701, we are scheduled to prefab that entire concrete structure up there and hoist it up following the completion of the roof. So here's a quick, let's get into the site logistics of it. So as you see here, we set up the site on mobilization and we'll immediately move into excavation. So with the excavation, as we go down, we will be shotcreting the walls for support. Following the completion of excavation, we'll be doing foundations and reinforcements and chase the slabs up all the way to on grade. You'll also notice the trees on here. These trees are the historic trees that will never ever be touched throughout the process of construction. As we get to above grade, we are looking at walls, slab, and columns all the way up. So the biggest driver of the critical path schedule on this is that first floor. That first floor is critical to the success of the entire schedule because of the large amount of MEP scope work, and it is the only floor that has completely finished given it is lobby. So you'll see we keep continuing to finish up. The windows are going to be, that is going to push our schedule. As soon as we have a roof and a floor, we'll have a window, we'll dry it in, and we'll get going on finishes. So you'll see a quick walk around right here. You'll notice the roof terrace. That structure that's kind of the orange shade right there, that is what we will be prefabbing off-site and be hoisting up onto the roof. So continuing with site logistics and utilities and excavation, what's on the site right now? So we have gone in depth and mapped out all of the underlining utilities on site, including water, electric, you name it. And we have the mapped out new storm drain. And so the biggest notes on this are the location of our job site trailer and the porta potties and tool connects. Now you'll also notice the break zone on the demolition plans. Due to fitting everything in, I didn't want to put break zone on every slide because you get the point. And you'll also notice our muster point at 600 West 8th Street. I will also say that for the demo plan, next one. So for the excavation portion of it, we will be pumping the water in the pit through back to the storm drain per plans. So you also, as of yesterday, we learned of a walkway and a 707 addition. So the biggest thing with this is once we complete the 4th floor slab, we will begin the work for the addition. So that will begin with mobilization of site logistics and safety, and we'll establish the fencing and safety nets below that proposed walkway area. And the biggest thing is that it will not affect our site layout much, given that materials will be delivered along West 7th here, and that the job site trailer and Connex right there will not be moved.
Thank you, Brian, for talking about how you're going to keep our site running. I'm going to talk about how we're going to keep our site safe. One big thing. Now, there's a lot of things to consider when it comes to safety, but I'm going to focus on two main ones: fall hazards and health safety. Especially in the midst of a pandemic, we cannot avoid COVID-19. So what we've done is here at Lone Star Construction, we've taken precautionary measures. What this includes, if there were to be an outbreak, what we do is we make all of our employees get tested, and if their test comes back negative, they get a color-coded sticker that is placed on their hard hat. That color is changed each week to make sure that everything stays current. Now, as for fall hazards, we want our employees to stay safe as well as the pedestrians around us to stay safe. So what we do, that involves engineered debris nets that go around the premises. We install OSHA-compliant rails along the building, as well as making sure that all of our employees are tied to lanyards as well as our tools to make sure nothing falls. Another way we protect the pedestrians
Sorry to cut you off.
Okay.
We're getting ready. We're over time, so if you all could wrap it up in the next 30 seconds, 45 seconds, that'd be great.
Sounds good. Okay. Anyway, so covered walkways, that's how we keep it safe. Now for QC, what we do is we have pool planning and we have the mentality of I get, I give, and this is one way that we make all of our contractors work together. Another thing that we do is we utilize BIM, like Brian had said. We do BIM clash detection to lower our rework rate, because what we believe is you do it right the first time. That being said, moving on to the next slide, we also have a database where we do weekly work plans and we do prefabrication, again, like Brian had said before. So I'm going to give it back to Brian to close us off. Thank you, guys.
So you may be sitting there wondering, in this 30 seconds, how am I going to tell you why Lone Star is the company y'all should choose? So the biggest thing is relationships. The strongest thing we build is relationships. We have already completed previous projects with y'all, so y'all know our quality, you know our ability to complete a schedule, and you know our staff. So I'll leave you with this. Lone Star builds it like you own it. So why would you not want someone to build it like they're going to live in it? Thank you. We'll open the floor to questions now.
Thank you. One of the questions that I have is, you obviously going to have a bunch of laborers working on your project. How are you going to deal with the parking and the traffic at the same time? Parking, I mean parking for your staff and the remaining of the labor.
Yes, sir. So that was in deep consideration. We have off-site parking that we have communicated with the neighboring, and we are going to rent that parking lot out. It's about 2 blocks off-site.
So you addressed lead times being a major concern, and especially with electrical components, lead times are now pushing sometimes 6, 7, 10 months. So can you tell me what size the main switchgear for this building is that you plan on ordering?
Off the top of my head, I cannot tell you. Would our estimate?
So in our bid package, we do have all of our contacts, and we can definitely get back to you then. So just reach out to one of us, and we'll be more than happy to talk with you more after.
Fantastic, thank you.
So I got a question. During mass excavation, I think you indicated that you're going to. How are you getting the dirt out of the hole and into the truck?
So we will be having a telescopic excavator, which will be on the West 7th Street side, and that will be over the edge, and we'll have dump trucks flowing through that West 7th entrance there, and there'll be just continuous removal.
Okay. When you're installing your exterior skin, what are you installing first? Are you installing the brick first, or are you installing the glass first?
The glass will be first.
And okay. And what is driving your crane removal?
What is driving the crane removal?
Yeah, so you, on your site utilization plan, you have the crane inside the building?
Yes, sir.
When are you removing the crane? What activity needs to be complete before you remove the crane?
So per our plans, once we top out with that prefab top on top of the terrace, after that we will remove the crane, break it down, and fill in as.
And then after that, we will put in the elevator, because the crane is inside the elevator pit. So once we top out, we will remove the crane and install the elevator.
How are you going to set your mechanical equipment on the roof?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
How are you going to set your mechanical equipment on the roof? Are you going to rent a hydraulic crane, or you can use your tower crane?
We would use
Or
the
your-
tower crane to finish that out with topping off of the roof. Yes, sir.
Now, are you going to use, what kind of crane are you going to be using? A traditional tower crane?
That would actually be in our general conditions. It should be listed, but off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, but it is in the general conditions.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, a couple quick questions here. So you guys talked a lot about quality in your general conditions. I'm seeing quality control manager for 3 months. Are you coming part-time? What's the plan there to ensure that we're getting a quality?
So
quality
it
building?
changes throughout the site. So kind of got cut short a little bit there, but quality is a team effort, and that's one thing that we definitely value a lot with Lone Star Construction. So during the procurement and closeout process, I will be coming in as needed, but during the execution process, I will be coming in to make sure that we're doing monthly inspections and make sure everything is coming up to code. But we also have other people there who will be paying attention to different aspects of the project and making sure that everything's installed correctly.
And then obviously the long-standing history that we've got between Lone Star and Hensel Phelps. What's your all's plan to, if awarded this project, to keep that intact?
We'll continue what we've done in the past. We haven't had any problems so far. We love working with you guys, and we'll keep driving, and we'll stay strong to the schedule and work around your plans.
Quick question for you. I think it's for Brian. So you elaborated on how good you guys are at the concrete work, especially in Texas. Can you elaborate when in the year you guys are doing a lot of the concrete work at 701 and how you're handling hot or cold weather concrete placements?
So for the cold weather aspect of it, so because it's about 300 plus days, it will be occurring throughout all seasons. So as the seasons change, we'll be adding certain admixtures to work with that season change in the temperature change.
Just wanted to get a little clarity around contingency. Help me understand what the difference, I'd seen some notes in here about the difference in owner versus contractor. You have owner contingency in at 5%. Can you help me understand the difference between owner contingency and contractor contingency?
Yes, so owner contingency is mainly for if the owner wants to make minor changes to the project, like changing some finishes or something, you know. So the contractor contingency is if there are unforeseen changes in the plan, or not in the plans, in the project, in the scope of work, yes. Then they will have that kind of money to fall back on in case they can't work, or like say there's heat days in Texas, we wouldn't be able to work at that point. So we'd have to maybe fall back on that contingency.
Great, thank you.
While we're mentioning cost, certainly we're cost conscious in terms of this project penciling from a pro forma standpoint. You guys are in with a 3% profit. Is that something that you would be willing to negotiate down?
Yes, it is very aggressive, so we would be willing to, but you know, we do like our money, so.
I have another question involving the budget. With today's escalation happening, we have rapid escalation going on. How do you plan to protect the owner's budget? The owner set their budget a year ago. A lot's happened since then. What do you plan to do to protect that?
It's a good question.
So I'll jump in on that.
Jump in on that, please.
Of course, I'm not the numbers guy, I'm the doer guy. But I will say, because of how we structure our important with lead times and everything, we will be ordering those materials like within a month of the notice to proceed. So yes, they're changing every month as we've seen, but it'll be as close to that number as possible because of our conscientious procurement plan.
I wish you guys could meet our procurement manager. He's right there with it. He's close with the vendors, and he'll get it done on time.
So, go ahead. I have a few questions regarding the self-perform. As you guys mentioned, that's the biggest scope on the project. So, with COVID testing, and Allie, this is probably a question more for you. If you're testing weekly, are those costs can get pretty high. So, I guess how are you managing the cost of testing weekly, and then also the potential outfall of somebody testing positive?
So if somebody does test positive, what we normally do is we track who's around them to make sure they go get tested immediately. So while it sucks sometimes, it's something that we have to deal with. And so what we do is we get all of the workers who are in close contact with them to get tested that day. And then the second that, and normally it's a rapid test, but they'll come back. Now our weekly tests are normally PCRs, and there's a lot of free clinics around. And so normally what we do is we actually adjust time in the schedule for them to get tested early in the morning at those free clinics around the area.
Okay, and then with your craft force for the self-perform, do you guys have craft force in town? So if you do have people that test positive, you've got backup plan to bring in more craft to go make up so you guys don't lose time on schedule.
Yes, at our Austin office, we have shop guys. We have close to about 50 of them, so we are able to bring more people in whenever we need it.
Okay, thank you.
Allie, can you elaborate a little more on your I give policy?
Yeah, so that has to do with our pool planning, and essentially what that is we have a meeting with the contractors and they talk about what they'll be receiving like beforehand. So like I said, schedule going in order, so what will be done by the contractor before, then what they plan to do with that, and what they plan to give to the next contractor. So essentially it's just an open communication that we keep with everybody on site to make sure that we do have an effective site and everybody's on the same page and understands where we are, where we're heading, and like I said, quality is a team effort. And schedule, like I said, I've talked about that a fair amount, but the reason I talk about schedule with quality is because we made a promise to you guys to get a project done at a certain time, and we intend to keep that promise, and that's how we incorporate that.
All right, we've got one last quick question, and then we'll wrap it up. The owner contingency, the contractor contingency, any of that's unspent, does that come back to us as the owner if you don't spend it by the end of the job?
Yes, it would.
We would split that up 50-50. We both like to make money, so we'll see at the end of the day.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time. Appreciate all the hard work and effort responding to the RFP. We do appreciate it, and we'll be reaching out with any further questions.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Appreciate it.